This is in reference to Dr. Paul Krugman's article in the New York Times on Monday, February 15th, 2016, How America Was Lost, a Constitutional Crisis. Now, over the weekend, Justice Antonin Scalia passed away. The first thing I would like to say about this is that I think I read over the weekend that when he was confirmed by the Senate during the Reagan administration, he was confirmed 97-0, which means that a lot of Democrats voted for him. They may not have liked him, but they gave deference to the president. And oh my God, how things have changed. And this constitutional crisis is basically what we're getting from our friends on the GOP side is a tremendous amount of intransience and what I would call a complete and utter power grab to keep their side but in power, so to speak. So what has basically happened is that the Republicans have said that Obama is not entitled to name a successor to Judge Scalia, that should wait until the next president comes in. Of course, they're hoping that president can come in. Let me bring up two things about that. Basically, what they're saying is that, number one, Obama is not entitled to his last year in office. And number two, what they're saying is that the win that Obama had in 2012, and I believe he won by over 5 million votes, they don't count. They don't count in the last year in office. See, this is the way the mind is thinking. So it's the intransience. It's a power grab on their part. We'll see what's going to come up. So if they execute this power grab, and they don't even allow Obama's successor to even get a hearing, that would mean that it would be 12, 14 months or so, provided there's a Republican that wins the next president before the next Supreme Court justice can come in and be and come into office, so to speak, because then the next president would have to weigh in on a new one. That'd have to go before the Senate, provided the Senate is still Republican. They vote for it, get put into office. So what we have right here now is technically a 4-4 tie. There's only one swing voter in the Supreme Court right now. That would be Kennedy, who's gone back and forth a couple times. In the 70s, back in the 70s, there were a number of swing voters. But Dr. Krugman points out, but this constitutional crisis is this partisanship that we're seeing on the Republican side. It is not one of those, well, both sides do it. No, not both sides do it. The GOP, has gone off on the deep end. And the example would be, if we just take the Obama administration in this last year, anything that he proposed was shut down by the Republicans, even if he proposed something that they had proposed first. So anything that Obama does is good, anything that Obama does is bad, even if it is something that is good for the country. And what we have here, if we just take a couple examples, the increased environmental regulations, which is going to go up to before the Supreme Court if it hasn't been decided. And of course, that was a case where the Supreme Court said, even while the lower courts are getting their way through to get to us, you can't enforce this. Usually, they don't do that. It's still enforced until the Supreme Court decides. So there is definitely a chance that the Scalia would have definitely been against that. So we have this substance by the Republicans that everything that Obama does is bad, and he's not entitled to his last year in office, and we're not going to vote or even have a hearing for the next Supreme Court nominee until a new president is in. And this goes in line, with what the Republicans have been saying, especially the candidates for office, where even when they agree with someone, like they all agree with George W. Bush, but at the same time, his tax cuts weren't enough. We have to even increase them even more. So this deep end on the Republicans, yes, there are partisans on both sides, but what's going on the Republican side is just so far out there. And if we look at just look at the debates themselves, the last debates by the Democrats Thursday, and then the debates by the Republicans on Saturday. And of course, I have a family member, and I always try and emphasize to this particular person, what you always would prefer to do is you'd like to bring out the best in everyone, be kind to everyone, and but sometimes it seems like, I don't really say it quite like this. This is that, you bring out the worst in everyone. And of course, that's what we're seeing on the Republican side, that someone is trying to bring out the worst in everyone, and then the worst comes out in everyone. And Dr. Krugman points out at the end that, maybe we should have a new baseball cap that says, "Make America governable again." But then I would have to say, I could see our friends on the Republican side saying that also. But there is a big thing. They really do not want to govern. They want to cut taxes. They want rich people to get richer. They want reduced environmental regulation. They don't believe in global climate change. They think that the civil rights issue has already been decided and we need to move on from there. That we need a bigger fence. That all of these things are just so far off to the right that while the Republicans are in power, they don't want to govern. They want, the power of the marketplace and to work its magic, which in essence will screw the average working person, and we can't allow that.